In this tutorial, I'm going to teach you how to create and animate an ambigram, which is a word that can be read right side up and upside down, such as the one that you see here on screen. So to begin, the first thing that we need to do is choose the word that we're going to create the ambigram with. For this tutorial, I chose just to do my name, which is Stefano. Here I'm writing it right side up, and then underneath it I'm writing it upside down. I do this because we're going to look at the individual pairs of letters and we're going to try and merge them together so that the O looks like an S when flipped over and the S looks like an O. I'm not seeing too many easy merges in that all capital version of my name, so I'm doing a lowercase version, and I'm going to see if that's a little bit easier for us to work with. Because I've done this before, I know that we are going to use this lowercase version. So I'm looking at the O and I see if I put a little tail on it, I can create an S out of it. And if I extend the right leg of the N, I can make it look like a lowercase t. The A already pretty much looks like an upside down E, and the F is pretty much solved itself. So fortunately for me, my name is almost done just as is. It might take you a little bit longer to figure it out. You might have to work with it a little bit more, try different variations, do some extra sketches, but just stick with it. I've done a lot of different names and a lot of different words, and eventually they all crack. They can be done, it just takes a little bit more time. So here I'm redrawing the merged letters that I created and just making them look a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. I'm working with the balance and the weight. I'm trying to make sure that when I flip it over, they're not too top heavy or too bottom heavy, but it looks exactly the same right side up and upside down. I've also gone on to create a more embellished version of this. So here is just the sketching part, and I went on and actually did a much more aesthetically pleasing version of my name. So I'll show you that to you now. After I did it, I scanned it into the computer, and this is that original scan that you're seeing here. Now it's up to you whether you want to trace this with a black ink or if you want to bring it into Photoshop and adjust the levels of it. And then you can also bring it in Illustrator like I did, and I live traced it and colored it in. So then I exported that Illustrator file into Photoshop, and you can see that here. So what I'm doing now is I'm dragging down each one of or each layer into the new layers panel and creating copies of that original import from Illustrator. And I've done 8 copies. Now each one of those copies I'm renaming, and I'm naming them according to the angle of the degree of angle that they're going to be at as we rotate it. So I start with 0, and because I have 8 copies, I divided 360 by 8, and you get 22.5 degrees. So each time I rotate, or each time I rename one of these layers, I'm adding 22.5 degrees to it. And then when I rotate this, I'm going to do the same thing. So you can see that the first one's 22.5, we go to 45, then we go to 67.5, 90, so on and so forth. So I name the layers just to keep them all in order and know which one is which, and it makes creating your animated GIF that much easier when you can see exactly which degree and which rotation you're going. So now I'm using the transform tool, which is Command T, and then up in the menu bar I'm inputting the degree to which it needs to be rotated, which for the first layer that I'm on, 22.5 degrees I'm inputting, and you can see it's falling off the page. So I've gone up into image canvas size, and I'm changing the height to match the width. So now we have a square, and as we continue to go, we won't have our rotations falling off the page, but they will all be visible to us. So I'm just going to continue to go through, and I'm going to go one layer at a time and just keep changing up there, hitting Command T, going into the text box at the top menu bar and inputting the the next degrees of rotation. And as I do this, I'm turning off the layers so that I can see the one that I'm working with and make sure that it's rotating where I want. You don't have to turn the layers off. You can still you can leave them on and you'll still be able to see. It'll create this cool spiral shape. And I think I've actually turned that on later in the video. You'll get to see what it looks like with all of them on. It's actually kind of cool. You can create different patterns and create different cool looking images or screensavers or wallpapers with that as a technique, just by rotating things. So it looks like we're on the last one here. We're putting in 157.5. And now what we're going to do is we're going to look at animating. So we're going to go up to Window, we're going to click on Animation, and we're going to open the animation window. Now sometimes when you open the animation window, you'll see this different timeline. You just click this this button in the lower right hand corner and you want to see these individual frames. We're going to create 8 frames because we have 8 layers that we need to see, and beginning one at a time, we're going to turn on the visibility of one layer at a time, and we're going to continue that sequentially through the frames. So I'm just clicking on a frame, I'm turning on the visibility of the next degree of rotation and turning off the visibility of the 0 layer, making sure that we don't see the horizontal one. And once we have all 8 of them done, you can click on play and you can see a preview of the rotation. Now the timing is really jagged right now. The timing is really long. So all you have to do is click on that drop down menu on each frame, change your timing to something shorter, and I'm just doing 0.1 second for each. And I left the first frame at 2 seconds so that you have enough time to read the word, and it gives you a nice little pause on the horizontal frame. And if we set this to loop forever, we can click on preview again and we can watch this loop around a couple times. Now to export this and save it, you want to go to File and you want to go to Save for Web and Devices. You want to make sure that GIF is selected up here at the top right hand corner and then just click Save. So we're going to choose a location, and I'm just going to save this to the desktop and click Save. All the default settings are usually okay to work with. And we're going to exit out of here, and I'm not going to save these because I already have them saved. And here is our GIF. Hit spacebar to preview, and we have our rotating ambigram. And that's it. It's fairly simple. I hope you guys enjoyed.